Your Excellency, congratulations on your completion of 1 year in New Zealand next week.
Thank you, thank you. It has been it's a very interesting period. Um, we have thoroughly enjoyed our stay, but last 3-4 months have been challenging due to the global pandemic situation.
Sure. Overall, how would you describe your first year in New Zealand?
Well, I have known New Zealand for last 20 years. During 2001, 2004, I was Deputy Secretary in Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I had occasions to visit New Zealand on official trips. Since then, I have observed New Zealand. So when we arrived here to take the position last year, I was not unfamiliar with New Zealand. So last year, this year, 12 months have been very fruitful, productive, and we have enjoyed our stay thoroughly.
So, I think this situation that the COVID 19 crisis has foisted upon us is unprecedented anyway. We have suffered quite a lot throughout the whole world, the economy, the people, with lockdowns and things like that. And as we all know, India is also suffering quite a bit as we speak. But we've seen a lot of reports where the Indian High Commission in Wellington has risen up to the occasion and done a lot. Can you please tell us how this whole thing happened? What is the contribution from the community and the rest of society in New Zealand for the High Commission's response to COVID-19?
Let me first explain how the two governments have worked together. Towards February end, Deputy Prime Minister was accompanied by Trade Minister and a sizable business delegation on his ministerial mission to India. They were just back towards the end of February. Since then, when the COVID-19 also hit New Zealand and India, we have been in constant touch. Between the two ministries, civil aviations and other agencies have been in constant touch. So as government, we have worked together. Both foreign ministers were in touch. They spoke to each other during the last 4 months. So we exchanged views, we shared ideas, and we decided to work together. So that's at the government to government level. At the level of High Commission, one of our first objective was to determine how many people were stranded here. So in April sometime, we took a stock of the situation as to the number of students, number of tourists, and number of family visitors who were stranded here. Tourists were particularly hit because they were away from India, they were staying in hotel. Many times they were running out of resources. So we came into picture. We started helping them by providing partial accommodation, food supplies, in many cases, also through the medical supplies, in the manner that we facilitated getting prescription from doctors. So these are some of the things that we did during the last 3-4 months.
And
And of course,
sorry.
then beginning June, we repatriated some, I think 1,650 Indians from New Zealand to India, and we also brought in some 2,000 Kiwis to New Zealand.
Yeah, that was the Vande Bharat mission.
That's right.
I have a separate question on that a little bit later on. But moving on to some of the other initiatives that the High Commission has initiated since your taking over the office last year, is there has been a lot of emphasis on IT platforms, which I think has been used, which people have been able to get in touch with the High Commission rather seamlessly. Using apps and the website and all that. Can you please tell us what the uptake has been?
Well, I have been, you might be knowing that for 6 years I headed India's passport program. So some of the things which I did as a chief passport officer of the country, I have tried to incorporate them in the day-to-day functioning of the High Commission. For instance, during last 1 year, we have started online payment. In the beginning, when I interacted with the community members in Auckland, they mentioned that they were not able to use their debit card facilities at the High Commission, and they were not able to make online payment.
Payments.
They had to go to a bank to get a banker's check, and this was adding to another layer of the governmental procedure. So now I'm very happy to share with you that we have the online facility. People who come here to High Commission, they can pay through their FPOS card. So our transactions have become cashless, and it has brought a lot of convenience to people. Similarly, we have created a WhatsApp platform. The telephone system has certain limitations. We have n number of telephone operators, and I think through your channel, I would like to inform applicants that it's not that we are not trying our best to attend to calls. Sometimes it happens that there are hundreds of telephone calls. So our emphasis is to have more updated information on the website, and through a social media platform, we inform them that when they apply, it's fully completed and well done, so that the anxiety level is low. What happens, I understand, when they send an application and there is no prompt acknowledgement from the High Commission, they think that what is happening with our application. But I would like to assure them that we account for each and every application. Proper acknowledgements are being sent through WhatsApp. If they want to follow up on certain things, they can always reach to us. They can reach to us through Facebook Messenger, and of course through the traditional means of the email, letters, and telephone calls. But I would like to emphasize that there should use multiple platforms rather than only telephone calls.
Right. Related to that, the OCI renewal and all that created a little bit of questions, and there was a little bit of confusion in the community. Has that all been sorted now? People,
I think so. Yes, of course, during the pandemic crisis, there were some restrictions on travel of OCI card holders. But we had certain categories and we allowed them to visit India. But that was because of unprecedented situation.
True. But that's also...
That's yes. Now anybody who has any family issue in India, and during Vande Bharat mission, we have taken several OCI card holders to India to meet and unite with their family members.
Right. Speaking of Vande Bharat has demonstrated very well the feasibility of having direct flights.
That's right.
Something which has evaded Kiwi Indians for so many years under one reason or the other, and all sorts of dates have been given. Ab hoga, it'll happen in the next 2 years, but it's never happened. But this has very clearly shown that going forward, it is a possibility. Plus, I think in this post-COVID atmosphere, there will be a probably need to minimize exposure of different people in hubs like maybe Singapore or Malaysia. So there will be a preference for direct flights because contact tracing is also easier if it has to be done between two governments. Do you think this will become a possibility?
The Air India came to Auckland on a direct flight, though against the backdrop of unprecedented situation. But unintended consequence has been that we have crossed a psychological barrier. That's a fact. And that's why everybody is looking at the possibility of having a direct flight connectivity between Auckland and a city in India. It's possible. It's 15 hours. We had not thought of it. So now that Air India and Air New Zealand also made some direct flights to Delhi, so that psychological barrier had been crossed. Yes. I think we have also realized that there is enough traffic
Volume of traffic, yes.
from both sides. It's not that Indians are visiting New Zealand, the more Kiwis visiting India.
Great.
So there's a two-way traffic, and I'm sure our airlines will look at the possibility of opening a new long-haul flight. So adds to this adds a new flight route to their given basket. Now, the aviation sector is hard hit due to
True.
COVID. And this has to be a commercial decision, even if the government will push whether the airlines are in a position to venture into a new path. It has to be seen. But I'm encouraged because we have crossed this psychological barrier, and I will convey the sentiments of the people here that we need a direct flight.
Definitely. And a few years ago, there's also a legal framework because we have an air services agreement.
That's right. So under the air services agreement, which was signed in 2016,
Correct.
a week back we have notified one airline from our side.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will not take the name of the airline, but we have a week back we have notified the name of the airline.
Very good. So it is a possibility.
It is a possibility. So while during the lockdown we have been working on the possibilities, and I think intimation from our side designating a carrier to take this route is a positive sign.
How do you view the New Zealand-India relationship at different levels, like trade, people-to-people relationship in the post-COVID scenario?
Well, the people-to-people links have flourished over last so many decades, and that's one of the strong pillars of our relationship. And it's not only diaspora. Diaspora has been supplemented by the number of tourists, family visitors, and students. So that remains a strong component of our relationship. Trade, there's a tremendous potential, but somehow it has not been fully realized. Maybe during last few years there was focus on achieving FTA and RCEP, and people were expecting that once that happens, new momentum will be generated. But my view is that irrespective of whether there has been progress or no progress on that front, both sides should work together to trade more. And when I say trade more, it's two-way traffic that I'm talking about. Right. I mean, there is no contradiction between selling Indian products and selling Kiwi products in India. If our trade volume goes up from both sides, our bilateral trade will improve. The other aspect is technology partnership. New Zealand, though small economy compared to India, with a smaller market size, New Zealanders have been, they are known for technological innovation and introducing best practices, like the ease of doing business. It's it's thanks to their innovative practices that they have achieved this rank, and they have maintained that position for so many years. So there are many areas where they have technology and best practices, skills and know-how. We are looking for them. Perhaps there are Indian entrepreneurs who would like to invest. So if there is a matchmaking between New Zealand know-how and Indian entrepreneurship, then it's a win-win situation for both sides.
So Indian jugaad and Kiwi ingenuity.
Ingenuity, yes.
Yeah, sure. So now that you've spent 1 year here, what's your impression of the Indian diaspora here, in comparison to Indian diaspora in other countries that you've been?
Well, we should take pride in the fact that Indian diaspora here is sizable. As it amounts to almost 5% of the population. So that's a big characteristic of Indian diaspora here. They are well integrated. They have been contributing to richness and diversity in New Zealand, for which New Zealand has a certain name now. They are also contributing to their national economy. There are some estimates that 5% of the Indian diaspora is contributing up to 9% of the national GDP, which is a very commendable fact, and it should be highlighted. So I'm very happy with the position of Indian diaspora here. Of course, when we look at the history, there were ups and downs. There were problems when they came 150 years back, but those are past. During last quarter a century, the Indian community has found a very receptive and hospitable place. So I'm very happy to see the Indian community prosper. A representative of our community has risen to the position of Governor General. There are three members of Parliament now. So all this is indicative of the prosperity and the level and the reputation of the Indian community here.
And a few cricketers too.
And yes, of course, they are doing well in sports as well.
We can't leave cricket out of any discussion between India and New Zealand.
That's right.
Yeah. Sir, what are the plans now in the next wee while that you will be spending in New Zealand? You've finished 1 year, but there's a few more years. So what are your plans?
We had plans at this point of time. We were supposed to be doing our Festival of India.
Yes.
That was part of the plan, approved plan by the government of India. But somehow what has happened during last 4 months has now an adverse impact on plan for the year. Because borders are closed, international flights are not operating. We don't know when situation will become normal. So far as the visits of delegations and exhibitions or troops will be possible. I do not think that this year we have any possibility of physical movement of people. Maybe probably early next year. So that's our big ticket event. I don't think that that kind of event has happened here. The whole idea is to promote brand India through promoting our traditional aspects of culture, at the same time bringing in contemporary aspects. So it's not only Bharatnatyam and Kathak and Hindustani music that we are thinking. We also are looking at how to showcase our strength in, say, IT sector. We can have some business seminars. We can have some lectures by people of eminence on focusing on strength of India in a contemporary sense. So this is the program. Let's see if we can do it early next year.
And the new High Commission building?
That's under progress. We have reviewed the situation because of COVID-19. This had some impact, and that probably will delay the project by 2-3 months. So we are hoping that the building would be up in the first half of next year. So within 1 year we should be moving there. That's our target.
Any message to our Kiwi Indian community here on the occasion of your first anniversary?
I see a great potential in our relationship. One day I was reflecting at a time when differences are accentuated between several nations. Here with New Zealand, we find so many commonalities. Both were part of the British Empire, and thanks to our colonial history, things were known to each other. Since 1769, Indians in whatever shape they have been coming and visiting this place. First they came as sailors, then they came here to settle as farmers, traders, now as professionals. So India has been a part of the history of modern New Zealand since
Sure.
1769, and that's a very a fact which should be highlighted. So we have been there, and during that period, there was trade. Indian tea was coming. Timber was going from New Zealand to India. So there were trade connection between the two countries during the colonial period as well. We have to work on this to bring the trading partnership to a new level. In that, both countries, we are working towards bringing us closer in terms of political and diplomatic ties. How do we see New Zealand? New Zealand is a part of the Indo-Pacific. As part of Act East policy, our approach is to engage with all countries of ASEAN and the Pacific region. We also look at New Zealand as a leader country in the South Pacific region, and that also inspires us to engage with the islands closely. And the third is, of course, our outlook towards Indo-Pacific. So there is a strategic sense for both countries to come together and work jointly. So we have a strategic vision of New Zealand, and I get similar sense from the New Zealand side, and the same was conveyed by Deputy Prime Minister when he went to India this February. So we are on firm footing. During last 1 year, I would like to inform you that our prime ministers have met, foreign ministers have met, defense ministers have met, trade ministers have met. We had parliamentary delegation. We had the leader of opposition of New Zealand visiting India. We had Indian cricket team here. We had our Navy chief coming here. So they were in 6 months. There were so many exchanges. We have to we have to keep the momentum when the new government takes over here in September. And of course, on people to people ties part, we intend to take the advantage of the presence of Indian community in creating brand India, promote brand India,
Right.
not India which is ancient and which is known for its culture. No, at the same time, we would like to promote India, which is modern, which has potential in niche areas like IT, pharmaceuticals, space science,
Sure.
and several areas of human endeavors. So, my message to your viewers would be: we are looking at more intense and closer and deeper partnership with New Zealand in the months to come.
Well, on behalf of the Kiwi Indian community and Indian Weekender readers, congratulations and namaste.
Thank you. Namaste.